architectural interiors, flooring, glass and aluminum applications, and electrical installation. For exceptional service at competitive rates, choose the Brinker Group. We build with quality, confidence, and pride.
Hey, come on. Man, what is taking so long? Let's play.
Just getting a number.
Whose number?
Narcotics Anonymous.
Hey, if you need to talk.
No way, it's not for me, it's for my brother. He's constantly wasted. Come on, hoop time. Can you tell me about NA?
Call Narcotics Anonymous. We can help you. There are all kinds of people. Their variety is almost endless, and that's a good thing. Diversity is our strength, and so are our similarities. But there's one thing that far too many people share: addiction. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, call Narcotics Anonymous. Addiction doesn't discriminate. We can help you.
We are the faces of Detroit.
You're watching Power Talk on your community TV station, UHF TV 33, Detroit, Highland Park. The following program does not reflect the views and opinions of Channel 33, its management, or sponsors.
Tuesdays, 9 p.m. on TV 33. Join me, Barry Ross, on Mixing It Up. We'll feature informative community organizations that will offer solutions to Wayne County residents in reference to employment, safety, and security within neighborhoods, job training, education, and mentoring programs. Remember, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Join me, Barry Ross, Mixing It Up on TV 33. Good evening, Detroit and Wayne County. Welcome to another segment of Mixing It Up. My name is Barry Ross, and we broadcast to you in your homes live on TV 33. We're also on Comcast 20. We also are online on TV33live.com, and the station now has a live feed on Facebook. If you go to the new TV 33 WHPR and you hit like and then the word welcome, you will be watching us live on Facebook. You can punch in your own name. It will transfer to your page. You can converse with your friends while you're watching the show, and we certainly want to encourage you to ask us questions. We encourage your opinions. And by the way, please call us. We welcome your opinions, your ideas, and your thoughts, to say the least. We're all in 313. We're in the 313 area code. These numbers are 868-0342, 868-0351, 868-4336. Without really, I just want everybody to understand what's going on here tonight. I am more than honored and flattered with my first guest coming up in a few minutes. The Honorable Minister Victor Muhammad. He is the director of the head director for the Ministry of the Michigan Prison Reform, and he is from the Nation of Islam. So for someone that looks like me to get this man here tonight, I have to tell you, it's a miracle. Everybody here would concur that this is a miracle, and I am more than flattered. And I also am flattered that I have a visitor here tonight, Sharon, from the Better Detroit Youth Movement. I want to thank everybody for visiting here tonight, and I want to thank my producer, Gabe Kenyatta. And I have a very important second guest as well, and her name is Ava Tinsley. She's the administrator of the Community Service Program, and this goes right in line with my first guest because she has men that have come out of prison that she works with in the community. These are serious ex-offenders, ex-cons, that volunteer their services in the community to reintegrate themselves into society. And this is a very important program, so she'll be along a little later. And also at 10 o'clock, I am so excited. The Better Detroit Youth Movement has been filmed going into the community all over town, asking folks, what's your opinion of the police? What can we do to enhance our relationships, community relationships with the police? Do you trust the police? And what do you think we need to do to enhance our relationships? Because we need work in this city, to say the least. And I want to reiterate one more time that Minister Shabazz, myself, and Robert Robinson from It Takes a Village, we have collaborated with YouthVille, the Better Detroit Youth Movement, and we have formulated a volunteer boarding up of homes in Detroit, and we are called the Greater Detroit Restoration Coalition Project. And as of now, we've done 3 houses that we've paid for out of pocket. We have young youth that have volunteered their services, so the labor has been very cost prohibitive as of now. We need donations. We need your help. It costs about $150 to board up a home, and it takes us a couple hours. And listen, the children that walk to school, the children that go out to play, if they can play in their neighborhood, they need to be safe. We don't want kids walking past houses where sexual predators lurk, where drug trafficking is very prevalent, and to say the least, it's hard for me to believe, this recovering addict, that drug dealing is still so prevalent in these economic restraints in our city. We have areas where there are so many drug houses, I don't even know how people pay for it other than get on welfare and pay for these, keep these guys, really. It's unbelievable. No one's working. So, I mean, what's happening? We have areas, 75% unemployment? We have 80,000 or more abandoned homes. Burnt out edifices, a quarter of a house caught on fire, that's standing there, and these are unsafe in our community. We want to do something about it, and when we're done, we're going to put together a committee that goes back and engages the rest of that community into block clubs. It's a lot of work, but please, we welcome, we don't care if it's $1, $5, you can donate to me, you can call me at 248-417-96, Minister Shabazz, 313-646-3375, and you can email me, and I'll give you that information in a little while. And also, the little baby girl, again, that died last September from smoke inhalation when the fire department sent out a tech unit rather than a conventional fire engine. The child died from smoke inhalation. Unnecessary, didn't have to happen. But you know what? The baby's family couldn't bury her. Forget where the blame lies on how she died. We want to make sure it's one thing our babies are dying. They deserve a burial. My God. So we have a fund set up at Comerica Bank. I'm going to give you the account number. It is 1-852-663-598. It is called the Ivory Ivy Emergency Children's Fund. Any child that dies in this city that was just born till they're 18 years of age, we want to be able to bury them. The Ivory Ivy Emergency Children's Fund at Comerica Bank. All you got to go is go into this bank, Comerica, give them the account number again, 1-852-663-598. Put $5 and $10. There's no shame in this. We make no money on this. Thank you from my man in the audience, Mr. Shabazz. You sure we making no money on this?
It's set up where we cannot make money.
That's impossible. We got to be making money.
Legally set up that.
Okay, we have 2 signers on this account. It's impossible. We are transparent. And by the way, I'm transparent. Anybody in Detroit Coalition Against Violence can see my books, can see anything about me. My past is an open book to you because we want to be. Tonight I'm shortening up my opening statements because of the nature and the importance of my first guest. And again, I'm honored that Minister Victor Muhammad is here tonight to talk about our prison system. And Minister, thank you very much for coming here tonight.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
How long?
First, I do want to correct one thing. You called me the Honorable, and I'm far from that. There is one honorable man on the planet Earth today, and that's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as well as the most Elijah Muhammad. And I am but a student of theirs, and if I could just be a molecule of their accomplishments, I will say I've lived a great life.
Okay. You're the director of the Michigan prison system.
The Prison Reform Ministry.
Prison Reform Ministry.
Yes, sir.
And really, what does this task entail?
Well, it entails a lot of things. Of course, I go and I've been in every prison in the state with the exception of 3. I also do ministry in schools, middle schools. That's the preventive part of ministry. Because the fact of the matter is the face of the inmate in the Michigan Department of Correction is getting younger and younger. 2 weeks ago, I was in Saginaw Correctional Facility, and I had imagines of being in a grammar school because the face of the youth were so young. And I asked some of them something I rarely do because I really don't want to know what you're in here for. I just want to know that you're on the road to redemption. And I was asking a few of them their age and what they were in there for, and they were 14, 15. They were in there for first-degree murder, second-degree murder, homicide, and things like that. The fact of the matter is as you were mentioning, young little Ivy, our youth and therefore our future are being killed by the acts and decisions made by the adults of this world. And the sins of the parents will visit the child. And that's what's happening. I mean, it's scripture written out every day in the newspaper and the news. And the fact of the matter is it's the sins of the adults that are killing the children. And the children don't have hope. When you can come into a system like the Detroit Public Schools and say that some of these schools are the worst of the worst, or it's the worst school of this, you're basically writing a blueprint for failure to a child. You're telling them they have no future. Right. So the fact of the matter is, if I don't have a future, what do I have to live for? So I build up all this anger and animosity in me, and then I take it to someone else who looks like me. And that's when we start having these incidents where you have a 15-year-old with AK-47. You know, at the age of 15, you should be riding bikes, playing basketball, and things like that.
Being a child.
Being a child. And the fact of the matter is that unfortunately the adults have failed the children, and the children are actually raising themselves in many instances. I had a student in one of my mentoring programs. He was yawning and was very lethargic, and I said, you know, I assumed something. I said, why were you up all night, you know, playing video games or on the phone and things like that? He said he was up till 4:30 looking for his mother. He was in the streets looking for his mother to bring her home because his mother is out in the streets on
doing whatever.
You know. So the fact of the matter is when you take and you target a whole generation, basically you're targeting anything that says the future has a bright outlook. And the fact of the matter is when you tell them there is no future, then they live for today. They don't only look toward tomorrow. They only live for present time. And that's why they live so fast and die so young.
Let me just ask you this. Going back to Engler, prison programs had been cut severely. Mental health hospitals have been shut down. We've been dealing with sanctions in the mental health in the prison system for 10 years now, what have you. We have insane people walking the streets, people that are disturbed. But now you talk about prison reform. What can we do with these children and these men so when they get out, they can have an opportunity to have a different mindset in this world? They're set up to fail when they come out anyway by our society.
Well,
are we offering them anything?
The thing is this, there's more profit in pretending that you're stopping it than doing it. So the fact of the matter is to act as though I'm putting together a program. There's more money to be made in the element of fear than in the elephant of reform. So the fact of the matter is, if I can keep you scared, I can keep you funding, I can keep the philanthropic organizations giving money, and then I can keep lining the pockets of these miscreants who's out there doing whatever with that money, while our brothers and sisters who are coming home reformed or refreshed, ready to come back and be contributors to the community, they are coming home to no jobs. Why? Because the people who never went to prison don't have a job. And they're coming home to no homes because the people who were former employees of the plants and the big three are now homeless. So the fact of the matter is they don't have a chance because we don't have a chance. It's because you cannot take a budget or administration or all of your great experts on so-called money and make God's prophets a liar. His prophets said that these things were going to come to pass, and it was going to show today that it was going to come to happen. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been speaking about it, but they don't want you to hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He has been on a tour of the Caribbean. He's been on a tour of the world. He's been on a tour of the historical black colleges and colleges all over, but they don't want you to they don't want you to listen to Farrakhan here in America when the whole world listens to Farrakhan? And the fact of the matter is, he is the only one because he knows that he has the answer to the key. It's always the enemy of the Messiah of God that is looking for him, and they know him when they see him, and they know his voice when he speaks.
Now I'm Jewish. We're not going to get into a thing back and forth, but in my mindset, in my people's mindset, I was under the mindset that he was inflammatory to incite, but I have learned that he speaks facts and truth, and it's very hard for us to deal with the truth. Now, is it or is it not, the prison is a business, it's an industry. Is it set up when children are young? I mean, going through these schools that are dilapidated, are they already doomed to fail?
I'm not going to let you get away with that one, Barry. You threw that one in there. But the fact of the matter is, Farrakhan's an answer for your people as well. He's an answer for white people. He's an answer for Jewish people. He's an answer for black people. He's an answer for every person in the world because God sent him here. He was not sent here on his own, and he's here because of that. So when God sends somebody to you, everyone benefits from their presence being here. Now we can talk about prisons.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I didn't mean to throw that one in, but
we good.
Okay. Industry.
The thing is it's big business. And what's happening, like Brother Malik was saying, there are so many sleight of hands going on. Like when you see a magician, he makes you look this way and he does something this way. There's so many things that are being made to distract the people of Detroit and the people of Michigan that the fact of the matter is there's so much really going on in prison that they don't want you to look at. The privatization of prisons is huge. Matter of fact, I've got a Michigan House of Reps is voting on bills HB 5174, HB 5177, and that's an effort to reopen Baldwin Youth Facility and allow GEO Group, which used to be Wackenhut, who ran Baldwin from 1998 to 2005 when they had some of the worst atrocities going on at a youth facility. They were the runners of that. Not only that, when Michigan Department of Correction, when they took and shut it down, when they shut it down in 2005, Wackenhut sued Michigan for $5.4 million. Thank you, brother. For $5.4 million because they wanted to get paid for an empty facility. So the fact of the matter is, now with those two House bills on the board, and if they come into place, Wackenhut, who has renamed itself GEO Group, could come back in, commit the same atrocities, and what has to happen is Michigan Department of Correction will have to provide them their prisoners and use taxpayer dollars to supply them a methodology, and they're the second largest corporation of prison in here, and they made in excess of $500,000 pure profit last year in just a few facilities that they were running.
You had run these figures the last time I saw you. Is it true? Or let me just ask you, how much is spent on the prison system in reform as opposed to education in Michigan?
Right now, the actual cost per inmate is $35,000 to $48,000 a year for one inmate. And actually, they put $500,000 more into prison and inmates than they did into university and education. So it costs you, for what you're incarcerating a young man or young woman to stand on the land and do a whole bunch of nothing. And I walk these yards, and the brothers are not getting the program they used to have. Why? Because when they got the opportunity to earn a college degree while they were incarcerated, 85% of them never returned to prison.
Oh my God.
So that's bad for business. So the fact of the matter is, if I pull those programs and I pull things like horticulture, I pull things like carpentry, plumbing, electricity out, what else happens? You come out of the prison systems not prepared to create an opportunity for yourself. So who is hiring? Drug dealers are always hiring. The breaking and entering is always hiring. The stealing the cars, they're always hiring. So the fact of the matter is, I come back out of prison just a little bit sharper than I was when I went in, and they know for a fact that I'm going to come back and I'm going to provide that free labor that they need to continue to fuel that thing called prison industrial complex. Just like gas is the fuel of a car, ignorant people of color and minorities are what's necessary to fuel the prison reform system.
The black man, black woman in the prison system in the United States is in the majority of the inhabitants in the prisons in Michigan, all over the United States?
Yes, that's true.
How many African Americans would you say are in our penal system in this country or
right
Michigan?
Now, we represent 13% of the
13.
No, hold on. 13% of the population of the United States. We represent 50.5% of those incarcerated.
Oh my God! In the United
50%
States,
in the United States,
50% of the
50%.
inhabitants in prison are black in the United
black
States.
men and women.
My God!
I'm really going to shock you now. I'm going to shock you too, Brother Malik. Name the number one occupation of the person who has received the death penalty in the United States in its history. The number one occupation. It was slave.
Slave.
And
Can you elaborate on this?
The slave has been executed, and you got to understand, executed that was documented. Lynching don't count in this one. Right. He was executed 1,748 times. The next closest occupation was a laborer at 585 times. Now I'm going to shock you again.
Excuse me. Now these stats are with the African American. These are pertaining to blacks only.
No, this is pertaining to all executions.
Go ahead.
And top 5 death penalty crimes. We know what the first one is, of course. It's murder.
Go ahead.
The second one is rape. You know the third one? Slave revolt.
Slave revolt.
That's the third death penalty crime of the top 5.
Okay, but that's sort of a thing of the past.
Well, the future hasn't caught up with the past, and it's still showing you that even in this country, we're supposedly so many years past slavery that slave is still the number one occupation of the people that are set to death in this country. And also slave revolt.
That's how many were sent to prison and killed in those days.
And that does not include
100 years later, 200 years
That does not include lynching. We know that. There's numerous numbers for that, but this is the actual facts of people who were actually sentenced to the death penalty. And we also know that in that second one, murder being the first, rape being the second, we know that many black men were executed for rapes they never committed. They even were executed for what they called thought rape. That meant looking at a white woman, looking at her underclothes as they hung on the clothesline. That's called thought rape back then. And they were executed for those same crimes. So that tells you, when you try to convince the world that we're so many years up from slavery and this is a non-racial society because Barack's in the White House, and you still got statistics like this, that slave is the number one occupation that's been executed here in America, and that we occupy over 50-some-odd% of the death penalty cases in the world. And we also know that 2 out of 3 death penalty cases have been those that have been overturned because of police and prosecutorial misconduct. And that's usually in the chance of them not being able to have the proper representation to represent them in court, and the prosecutor having unlimited resources, police having unlimited resources to railroad a black man convicted on a crime
because they don't have the cheese to pay for that.
Yes, and actually it just happened now. Troy Davis's case. Troy Davis' case, they knew that man was innocent of the crime. Matter of fact, the warden of the thing said he did not even want to be there when it took place.
Does the FOI have representation that they allocate to prisoners when they can, or how does this work? I mean, the NAACP when they can. It's minimal, I know, I'm sure.
We've got the greatest teaching on the planet Earth. The self-improvement study, guys. Self-improvement is the basis of community development. The fact of the matter is, and I said this to some powers that be just this week, the fact of the matter is you can spend billions and billions of dollars on infrastructure, buildings. You can make everything beautiful. You make the walks beautiful. You can make the building beautiful. But if you do not invest in the greatest attribute that is on the planet Earth, and that is the human being, I don't care what you do. I don't care how you do it. And I don't care how many times you try to change the name of it or call it something different, it will never result in a positive outcome. The fact of the matter is, the thing that is a natural fact and a 100% actual fact is that the Nation of Islam has the most successful reentry program on the planet, bar none. They know it. We don't get any government money to subsidize this, but the fact of the matter is, we don't judge the person on the crime they committed.
The merit of their character?
The fact of the matter is that we make you have knowledge of self and knowledge of God, and knowledge of the enemies of God. And in doing so, you become greater than crime. But if I take you and put you in prison for 10 years, bring you out, and say you're still the same old Negro you were when you went in there, and I still judge you over and over. See, it's one thing to have justice for a crime you committed, and pay and be responsible for that crime you committed.
And admit responsibility.
Yes. That's justice. But to be tried over and over and over and over again every time you go to fill out time you go to try to get a home, every time you try to go and make yourself better to be tried over again, that's injustice.
Well, I have to say, well, obviously, the nation deserves a healthy accolades for, because without the nation getting involved, so we all
Praise
applaud
be to
you,
Allah.
and we all applaud the nation itself, and Minister Farrakhan, and my intentions are strictly from my heart, and I think most people that know me today that I speak from the, I only stand
I can
up.
tell you this, you should thank Minister Farrakhan, because if Minister Farrakhan didn't intervene in this man's life 25 years ago, you wouldn't have wanted to see me. You wouldn't have wanted to have met me, and I'm just one of many that he has turned around. So you didn't know who Malcolm X was going to be until he met these teachings. You didn't know who Lewis Walcott was going to be till he met these teachings. So the fact of the matter is, when you see something that's working and changing and turning around the way it's turning around, the bottom line is you've got to bear witness where witness should be.
I want
borne.
to talk to you about, I want to take a call, and I want to tell you something about rehabilitation. Good. Oh, come on. Hello, you're on the air with Victor Muhammad. How are you? Minister Victor Muhammad. Do you have a question for him?
How you doing today? No, I really got not a question, but I just wanted to say to my brother, I understand that racism is still going on, but you can't, I'm finding out in life, you can't use that as an excuse to say, okay, because I didn't get this job, the white man, it was the white man's problem with me. I mean, you got so many opportunities. Black people have so many opportunities and doors now that you can't use the white man as an excuse anymore. And I see a lot of black people, they want to use the white man as an excuse. They can't get a job. They can't get some type of career because it's all about the white man. It's not about the white man no more. It's about you. It's about you making your choices. It's about you going out there and pursuing what you want in life. And that's just the bottom line. And I think black people, we need to get out of that mode of saying the white man this, white man that. The white man didn't put a gun in your head. The white man didn't tell you to sell drugs. The white man didn't say go out and rob your neighbor. So I'm not going against my brother, but at the same time, I think we need to get out of this mentality saying using racism still as a reverse thing to say, okay, because this is not happening to me, I'm going to blame it on the white man.
What's your name, brother?
I don't agree with the brother is saying. I understand what he's saying, but I don't agree with that now. You living in 2012 where you got too much free opportunity to go to school. You got opportunity to do whatever you want to. Sky's the limit. We holding ourselves down.
What's your name, brother?
All I wanted to say, my brother.
What is your name, brother?
Michael.
Okay, thank you, Michael, for your comment. I'm definitely not blaming the white man for anything. I'm just stating actual facts. And the fact of the matter is, these are the facts. Now, dear brother, I'm assuming that you're gainfully employed, but over 35% of your other brothers are not. And I said, the thing is, and I'm sure you're comfortable where you're at, but there's a majority, over 50% of the people that are homeless look like you or me. So we cannot sit back and say, because we're sitting from the perch in the tree, that the eggs are not hitting the ground, because they are. And the fact of the matter is this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we should never come out and ask someone to give us a job. He said, do for self or suffer the consequences. He said, there's not enough jobs for them, so don't go out there. She said, look at your community and see what your community is lacking and provide that there. I'm telling you right now, we don't have grocery stores. I can get a Uzi in my neighborhood. I can get an AK-47 in my neighborhood, but I can't get a tomato to make a salad. But the fact of the matter is, we are in a situation where we are definitely not blaming him, because we do have our own destiny. But the fact of the matter is, we cannot deny the systemic and socio-economic condition that has contributed to over 50% of the black men going to prison, and being 50% of the population when we're only 13% of the population of this country. Now, the fact of the matter is there's a couple books I'd like to refer you to, dear brother. There's a book called Jim Crow law. Look at that book. And also there's another one called Condemnation of Blackness. And I would suggest you read those books and then start, reiterating yourself and just be a little bit more open-minded to the actual facts. Today's employed is tomorrow's unemployed.
Yes. I just want to say that if we don't think in this country, and if I may be open, that racism isn't going on, take a look at the city itself. Why are all these schools continuing to close? Why is murder after murder after murder continuing? Why are we losing the potential of controlling our own water that we sell to Oakland County that sells back to us for more than we paid for it?
That's right.
There is something going on here that illustrates to me that they want to take the city out and turn it into Livonia instead of Detroit. So,
well, that's what they did. That's what they did to New Orleans. New Orleans was the second largest black city here, but after Hurricane Katrina, they shipped black people all over, and now it's a majority white city now. But the fact of the matter is, you cannot ignore the writing that's on the wall. You cannot ignore it. You know, the city of Detroit is being looked at for emergency financial manager. Go down to Allen Park. They're pound for pound in worse financial state than Detroit, but they're not sending an emergency financial manager there.
Every city that has an emergency manager is predominantly an African-American city. What does that tell you?
I'll even add this. If Detroit falls underneath emergency financial manager, over 68% of the black people of the state of Michigan will be under emergency manager.
My Lord.
Let's take another call. I'm going to take another.
Thank you again, Brother Michael.
Thank you for calling. Good evening. You're on the air. How are you?
Good evening.
Thanks for your patience. Could you speak up a little? Could you speak up a little, please? How are you?
Good evening. Can you hear me, gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I think the gentleman is absolutely straight on the point.
Thank
They
you, sis.
are already in the school system miseducating our children to continuously hide the history of who they are and whom they are, so that they will not be prepared for anything better than the prison system. And see, we must study and understand the snake and the rape of the enemies when they are attacking our babies. And so what better crime that they can commit to get to the babies first, so that they will not be educated and strong enough to fight a system that is never been set up for them to have opportunities and freedom. We are not free until each one reach one, teach one, and learn the unity that we must have in order to empower ourselves and be better and to defeat the enemy's games. But they have put wedges and monkey wrenches in the way of us for many, many centuries and years now to keep us blind to the fact that we must be collectively and unified in order to fight these demons and to allow us the freedom to have what is ours in the first place.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you. And keep up the good work, and I'm enjoying the show. And
Thank you,
bring
sis.
in a wealth of knowledge, and people need to wake up and stop being put to sleep by the enemy. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you very much for your
beautiful
call.
illustration. The one thing that, what really, the scripture says, we are destroyed by the lack of knowledge. We don't know what's going on in our schools. I'm in the schools. We don't know that you have a security force in there that's handcuffing our children. You don't understand or know that in many of these schools, and in one school that I do a mentorship in, they have a courtroom in there. What are you preparing a child for? A courtroom where the things that they do in school, like truancy and different things like that, you're tried. You're starting to get acclimated to the system of incarceration. And the fact of the matter is, when you got us in a situation where we're not really growing, when our knowledge has been stunted, then if you are not in control of your knowledge, someone else is, and if they're in charge of knowledge, they're in charge of your action.
Let's take another call. Are you good?
I'm good.
Thank you for your call. Hi, you're on the air with Minister Victor Muhammad, Director of the Prison Reform Michigan. How are you?
Yes, sir. Good evening. How are the both of you?
Fine. We
How
can
you
barely
doing,
hear
brother?
you. Could you speak up, please?
Okay, is that better?
A little bit.
Okay. Anyway, you mentioned about an emergency manager, and I know you were talking about Detroit, but I just went online today. The Allen Park City Council, they took a vote to send a letter to the state treasurer, Andy Dillon, to have them come in and review their finances. Now, I mean, you know, when we look at the cities around the state that have been taken over, they're majority people of color occupied cities. Now, this is going to be real interesting to see what Andy Dillon and the governor decides to do about Allen Park.
Thank you, brother. I just want to add to that. The difference is Allen Park asked them to come in.
Yeah.
They're coming into Detroit.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't ask them to come here.
This is a takeover.
It's a big fight.
You know, just to be real, it's kind of gangster.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, look at what happened with with DPS when the state came in and took over. We went from, I think it was in 1998, we had almost $100 million surplus. When we came out of that, from under the state-imposed takeover, we were in something like a $250 million deficit. So under the state's guise, they put us in the hole, $350 million. So I can understand why, you know, the city, use that word, leaders don't want the state to come in here and impose their authority on the city. Because, I mean, you know, we've dug ourselves in a deep enough hole as it is.
And that's true, too. But I always look at things and not where they are. I always look at, you got to look in the past. You got to look in the future. I mean, the present tense, and then start moving toward the future. And the fact of the matter is that M situation and consent decree, all of that is really some of the smoke screens that's keeping us off track of the things that they are going on.
That's
the
right.
15-year-olds that are the 2-year-old getting shot, you know, getting shot over cell phones, over gym shoes, over car day. The young brother who got killed for an iPad and an iPhone.
Pontiac,
you know, these things are happening systemically. And it doesn't start at the age that it occurs. It is something that starts at a much earlier age. And they say that one of the number one characteristics to determine whether a child goes institutionalized into prisons is prenatal care. And you got to realize that these children that are committing these horrendous crimes are product of the crack generation.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the bottom line is we can't choose our parents.
That's
and, you
true.
know, hopefully when we get here, you know, hopefully we'll come here to two people who are going to give us the TLC that, you know, we need to grow up to be normal, decent human beings and can be contributors of society.
But another thing, dear brother, is this, and what I always say is this: if you don't prune the weeds that's in the garden across the street, they will rise up and come and choke the roses in your own yard. The fact of the matter is, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us, he said one of the first things they took was culture. Our culture was for us to be a village to raise a child. So we can't look across the street and say, look at Bebe's kids, look how bad they are. We got to walk across the street and be that father that's absent in Bebe's house, that mother that's absent, that brother, that sister in the community. We know who's doing the wrong in our community. There's no one outside our community anymore. It's Pee-wee, Lil Nuck, T-Bone, and Red down the street that's doing that. But long as they're not bothering your house, that we don't do anything about it.
Until it happens to you.
But the fact of the matter is, if they bother Miss Johnson's house across the street, trust me, the next time you go to work or you go on vacation, they're going to be in your house. But I thank you, dear brother, for your comment. And may God bless you and keep you.
Thank you. Listen, you were too valuable for me to get off this beaten path, but it's all relative. But I just want to say that this is all case in point, lending credence to the fact that we must all get together here. And I'm not interested in just talking about this anymore.
Most definitely.
If people don't start joining us and our organizations to get out in these streets, to protest, to take our city back, to formulate block clubs, there's so many things we can do that we can't depend on our government for.
We have block clubs. We have those, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He said, our unity is stronger than the nuclear bomb. We've all marched as Christians. We've marched as Muslims. We've marched as Pan-African. But we've never said, let's come together and let's all do it together. When we do it together, we're going to outnumber the minority who's causing all the problems in Detroit. And we can fact and change an exact change that is necessary for us to move to the future.
Listen, I'm going to have you back, but I want you to sit I have a video that shows the beginnings of our boarding up houses. Can you sit here with me for a few minutes? Can we run this? This is the Greater Detroit Restoration Coalition Project. Gabe and I were out Sunday illustrating what we started to do. So let's run this video right now, and we can see what's going on in our community, and then we'll come back and I'll say goodbye to you. I'm not going to take another call.
Okay.
We're going to run the video.
Okay.
We ready? Okay. Okay. We are the Greater Detroit Restoration Coalition Project, and our mission is we are a collaboration of the Detroit Coalition Against Violence. I'm the founder, Barry Ross. We have Minister Malik Shabazz in the New Marcus Garvey movement, and this is Gabe Kenyatta. He is an associate founder of the New Marcus Garvey movement, and yes, power. and Gabe is helping us as a foreman on the site to make sure that everything's safe, that everyone's doing their work, and we get done in a fast, expedient, safe way. And we also have the It Takes a Village, y'all. We have the Better Detroit Youth Movement. We also have Youthville. And together, we want to make sure that the neighborhoods are safe by boarding them up, so children walking on the way to school and coming home in the afternoon don't have to walk by houses that are open where predators hang out, where drug trafficking is occurring. So we want to do this as many places as we can in the city of Detroit. We just finished this house a week ago. It was paid for out of pocket, and as of now, we don't have any funding. We have youth that are volunteering to help support it and come out and do up the boarding. And we did this house last week. A house takes, what would you say, Gabe, about a couple hours roughly?
It's been taking us about 2 hours, but as we do more, we'll be able to do them a whole lot faster.
Right.
Especially with the crews working.
Right, and we want to make sure that after these houses are boarded up, we're going to form a committee in a while, and we want to make sure that the neighborhood is engaged in coming back and making sure that the street, you know, is revitalized. Yeah. We don't want to just board them up and shut down the neighborhood and forget about it, like some folks do. So this house was completely open for a long, long time, and you can see we boarded up the entire house all the way around, every single window on both floors in this house. In most houses, we're going to decide if we want to do the top and the bottom, but as long as they can't get in the first floor, and we use screws instead of nails, so these are much more secure. And you can see if we go around here, we boarded up the doors, everything. And we need all of Detroit to get on board and help fund this. It's about, like I said earlier, $150, $200 per home. And again, this is a collaborative. And we are asking for all organizations to come on board and lend some hand in volunteering in the labor. All right? We got a window. Oh, yeah, that's all closed.
Yep, it's all closed.
And in the springtime in this house, we're going to come back and cut all this down. We want to make sure that rodents or whatever don't affect the neighbors, so we want to make sure that this is together. All right? And we did 2 houses over. In the house that we did on the second house here, we found a litter of puppies.
Dead litter.
Dead litter of puppies. The mother had, it seemed like we thought that was the mother that day. The puppies were frozen solid. A shame. So again, this is a collaborative, and this is about, for the city, this is about revitalizing neighborhoods. We want to make sure that everybody gets on board and donates. So far, we're paying for this out of our own pocket, and we can't afford to fund the whole city.
We're paying for it out of our own pocket, but we have volunteers that's going to come and do the work. So in essence, it's the people of the city of Detroit that we're looking for to come out and to take control over their own community. We're working on getting some funding, but it's going to require, we're not paying people to do this, right?
That's correct. We have free volunteers. So far as of now, they're youth. The Better Detroit Youth Movement has volunteered. We had about 6 young people, the first 2 houses. We're looking for men that aren't working during the day that can come out, even young, strong ladies.
Yes.
Because the only danger of this is looking on the ground. There might be some nails Gabe is making sure that everyone's safe going through the house.
Right.
We go in and measure the houses first. We make sure no one's in there.
Right.
Okay. If there's any, people in there that are squatting or whatever, they're going to have to leave.
Get them help and leave, whatever.
And we're getting clearances from the city of Detroit. We want to make sure that it's okay to board up these houses. So we're not overstepping into anyone else's property that we shouldn't be infringing upon. So, and we also, the New Marcus Garvey movement was summoned for a block club meeting about 2 weeks ago on the west side of Detroit on 6 Mile, Wyoming. They were turned down for help from another organization, so Minister Shabazz and Gabe Kenyatta came out to hear the grievances that this block club association is having about 7 to 9 drug houses.
Right.
7 to 9 drug houses.
And a gas station.
And a
selling
gas station that's allegedly selling drugs, we believe.
Yeah.
And there was a woman who was coming home at night, and her neighbor's house had caught on fire a couple years ago. No one has come out, and she was afraid to come out of her car at night, so we boarded up her house. We boarded up that side and the front door for free. The day we found out that she needed had a problem, we came out the very next day and boarded up her home. So that's what we want to do. We want to show people we care. All right, and we need people to get on board, and we are the Greater Detroit Restoration Coalition Project, and you can contact us at 313-646-3375, 248-417-9696. And we have a Facebook page, the Greater Detroit Restoration Coalition Project. We need people to get involved, and we appreciate everyone in the city that's willing to make a difference, because we can't do this on our own. That's why we are collaborative. We want to show people that we can get together and make a difference. So many groups have a problem even being together amongst themselves. Here we are, 5 organizations already working together without everyone being a leader. We all want to be a leader. We don't want to have just worry about egos and fame or anything like that. We want everyone to play an equal part in this. There's no bosses. We're all partners in this.
That's right.
All right, let's just show we did both of these in really about 4 hours. So this is the second house.
And as you see on this house, this is a decent home. Look at the porch. I would die for a porch this big. It's a beautiful home. It just needs an owner. It needs some love. There used to be a family living here. Now it's open. But thanks for the efforts of Barry Ross and several of the other groups, we are beginning to close these houses up, making them safe for the community.
And we have the blessing of the city of Detroit. We're working in conjunction with the mayor's office, and we want everybody to know that this is something that has to be a joint effort. In order for Detroit to come back, politically, economically, socially, we must all take part in our city. We can no longer depend on conventional government to come in and save us. We're working in economic sanctions within the police departments and various issues with the police. We want people to know that if the government can't help you, then we got to make a difference. You form a block club association where we watch our own streets. This is the way back to making a better Detroit. People are laying back, seeing things and not getting involved, and that has to change. We must create a sentiment here where people take charge of their own neighborhood in a nonviolent manner. We're nonviolent. The Detroit Coalition Against Violence, the New Marcus Garvey movement, it takes a village, y'all. We're all working together, conjunctively, individually, to make Detroit a better place. Look at the backyard here. This place hasn't been kept up in months, maybe years, I don't know. This is all boarded up. It needs to be fixed up. And more than likely, this house could be bought for some back taxes, who knows? This is more the case than the exception that these houses are unkept in a city. What do we hear? There's over 70,000 abandoned homes in the city of Detroit that look like this or worse. Edifices, burnt out edifices, partial homes standing up where babies walk to school. We've seen homes with trash 15 feet high, tires, sinks, toilets. How can we live in this kind of environment? This is a shame. This is a shame. And we had to step up. And I'm so proud that we're we're finally coming together, and we need more groups to get on board. We need funding miserably. And it only takes, to do this house, took about 6 pieces of plywood and maybe a quarter box of screws and 4 to 6 men. 2 hours working. That's all it takes. So we just literally started a few weeks ago. There's a church on East State Fair where there was a drug house that Gabe and the New Marcus Garvey movement had literally closed down. Now we believe they're using it as a stash house. The church wants to purchase the home. We are going to board that up next Sunday, right behind the church. So we want everybody to know we can come sooner or later. The more help we have, the more people step up.
Yes.
So again, you can contact me at 248-417-9696. You want to give them your number?
Yes, or 313-399-7308.
And this is Gabe Kenyatta. And we do this together with Minister Shabazz, Robert Robinson, better known as the handyman in Detroit, who's on more organizations. Gabe's on several organizations.
It takes a village, y'all.
Takes a village, y'all. Malik Shabazz is on 30 organizations. He has closed down 1,500 drug houses in the city of Detroit.
That's right.
He has shut down liquor stores that sell bad food to children. He has gone on and on to protest against violence, murders, rapes. The original founding member of the 300. The Detroit 300 was really founded by Tafuri Brent and Malik Shabazz, correct?
Yes.
And Malik Shabazz now has the New Marcus Garvey movement and needs several volunteers to come aboard the New Marcus Garvey movement to make a difference in the community. Because without us, there is no community. All right, we're back. And needless to say, unfortunately, one of my guests couldn't come, but that was a good thing. You know, they say when one door closes, the next one's paved with gold, so to speak. So that gave me more opportunity to interview Minister Muhammad here. So can we just say goodbye to Minister Muhammad? Thank you.
Thank you.
So Minister Victor Muhammad, the director of the Michigan Prison Reform, came here tonight, and I'll tell you, I'm just beside myself with joy that we got an opportunity to bring this to you. And
well, thank you.
I can't say enough. And needless to say, also, I just barely tapped on really what's going on in the prison reform, and I hope in your busy schedule you'll find time and graciousness to come back again.
Be my pleasure.
And to me, in my heart, excuse me, but not to offend anybody, but you're honorable to me, okay? And figuratively speaking.
I pray one day I could be honorable, but I'm just not there right now.
Do you have any closing comments to say, or contact the website, or?
I just want to reach out to our community and make a soft landing spot for our brothers and sisters who are formerly incarcerated, because the fact of the matter is they've paid their debt to society. They shouldn't have to continue to pay that debt. Many of the greatest ideas, cures for cancer, AIDS, may have went through the prison system because evidently they're not out here now. So the fact of the matter is how we treat them, and it says in the Bible how you treat the worst of these, and how you treat them is really writing your own legacy. So our brothers and sisters, when they're coming home, don't look at them with scorn, because I've always said, determining on what prison you're in depends on what side of the fence you're looking for. Because real prison is not the razor wire and the wall. It's when your mind becomes incarcerated, and many of us are incarcerated in the mind even though we've never stepped foot into a correctional facility. So allow our brothers and sisters to come home, greet them with open arms, and allow them to become what God preserved them to be. They were saved for a reason, and they went through their trial, and that was their trial, and we all have our trials. So it's not what happens to you that defines you, it's how you react to it once it happens. So
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Can I have your hand for a minute? Look, see everybody? Okay, right here together on this show.
There you go.
All right, we want to make a difference.
There you go.
And absolutely, it's never, they say, it's 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react. There's a little sonnet about that. But thank you very much.
Thank you for
and
having
I
me.
wish you well from every aspect of my heart.
Yes,
and,
you as well.
And safe passage in your days to come. And your family, we wish them well. Thank you very much.
Thank
We're going
you.
to take a break. Stick here for a minute. And we're turning the show over to Better Detroit Youth Movement. And they have a film of them going into the streets and talking about the police and relationships with the police and the community and trust and all that. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned. break. When Mr. Hodo is ready, we'll feature informative community organizations that will offer solutions to Wayne County residents in reference to employment, safety, and security within neighborhoods, job training, education, and mentoring programs. Remember, Tuesdays, 9 p.m., join me, Barry Ross, mixing it up on TV 33.
Hi, Mom. Where'd you get all this Narcotics Anonymous stuff from?
Mrs. Owens had Narcotics Anonymous come and talk to our class about meetings that can help people stop using drugs.
Narcotics Anonymous?
Yes, please. Can you help me?
Call Narcotics Anonymous. We can help you.
We are the faces of Detroit.
We are the faces of Delray.
We are the faces of Delray. Governor Snyder wants to put us out of our homes by building a bridge in our front yard.
Homes where we raised our families.
Community where we buried our loved one.
Delray is struggling, but it's not lifeless. It's a community of hopes and dreams.
Governor Snyder.
Invest,
not destroy.
1,000 men's suits. And right now at Sermons, you can buy one and get two free. Not one suit, but two free. Buy one suit, bring two friends. Buy one suit, bring two relatives. Buy one suit, get two free. Bring your pastor, your boss, your teacher. Buy one suit and get two free. Sermons with 90 years of experience, carrying jeans, exotic skin shoes, sets, shirts, leather, sweaters, everything for the well-dressed man. Buy one suit, get two free. Sermons on Randolph in downtown Detroit.
The Brinker Group has been serving clients throughout Metro Detroit since 1989. Our group is comprised of 5 commercial contracting firms that specialize in construction management, general contracting, architectural interiors, flooring, glass and aluminum applications, and electrical installation. For exceptional service at competitive rates, choose the Brinker Group. We build with quality, confidence, and pride.